I want to start with a visual that kind of ruined my day yesterday. Or, well, maybe ruined is strong, but it definitely broke my brain a little bit.
That sounds like a promising start. What were you looking at?
I was watching this breakdown by James Darby's The Untold Truth About Money, and he does this thing where he visualizes wealth.
Uh-huh.
He puts a circle on the screen representing $1 million, and you look at it and you think, okay, that's a nice circle. I'd like to have that circle.
Sure. For most people, that circle is the retirement goal. That's the finish line.
Right. But then he puts up a circle for 10 million, then 100 million, and finally a billion.
Okay.
And the $1 billion circle is so massive that the $1 million one, the thing we spend, 40 years trying to get, it looks like a pixel.
It's just a dot.
It's a speck of dust. And then he shows Jeff Bezos' net worth, which is something like 117 times that $1 billion circle.
Yeah.
And that's when the feeling hits you. The feeling that the game is just broken. Like, I'm over here sweating the price of eggs, and there are people operating on a geometric plane that I can't even access. It feels rigged.
That feeling is incredibly common. It's the rigged game mentality. You feel like you're running on a treadmill at max speed, your lungs are burning, and someone else just effortlessly glides past you in a Ferrari.
And my assumption, and I think a lot of people's assumption, is that the guy in the Ferrari either got lucky, he inherited a diamond mine, or did something sketchy.
Right.
Because there is no way he worked 1 billion times harder than me.
That's the defense mechanism, isn't it? But today, we're going to dismantle that. We're doing a deep dive into Jana's analysis to look at the actual mechanics behind that massive wealth. And I'll tell you right now, it's not about working harder.
Good.
It's about understanding a completely different equation.
See, that's what I want to get to, because if the answer is just stop buying lattes, I'm ending this deep dive right now.
It definitely isn't that. This is about math, specifically the math of wealth generation that schools conveniently forget to teach.
Of course.
But before we even get to the equation, we have to address that rigged game feeling you mentioned. Because if you believe the game is rigged, you won't even play.
Well, isn't it? I mean, look at pop culture. Every rich person in a movie is either a villain or some spoiled brat who inherited everything.
Hollywood loves that trope.
Yeah.
Loves it. But if we look at the data, specifically a report from WealthX, it's mentioned in the source material, it paints a very different picture.
Okay.
They looked at the world's ultra-wealthy, so we're talking people worth over $30 million.
The serious heavy hitters.
And they found that 68% of them are self-made.
68%. That seems high. Are we stretching the definition of self-made here? Like, my dad only gave me a small loan of $1 million self-made.
There's always nuance, sure.
Yeah.
But we're talking about people who created their own wealth rather than inheriting family dynasties. Think Oprah Winfrey, born into severe poverty. Howard Schultz from Starbucks, he grew up in the projects. Even Bezos and Musk, while they didn't start in the gutter, they certainly didn't inherit the empires they run now.
So if nearly 7 out of 10 of these people built it themselves, it's impossible excuse kind of just evaporates.
It does. It suggests that wealth isn't a lottery, it's a mechanism. And if it's a mechanism, it can be reverse engineered.
Okay, so let's reverse engineer it, because currently my mechanism, and I assume the listener's mechanism, is go to work, get paid, go home.
That's the old equation. And honestly, it's a trap. The source material calls this the time for money trap. Let's do the math on it.
I have a feeling this is going to be depressing.
A little bit. Let's take a standard scenario. You make $20 an hour. You work 40 hours a week.
Pretty standard life.
Yeah. To earn, not save, just earn $1 million. How long do you think that takes?
$20 an hour? A long time. Pretty long.
It takes nearly 24 years. And that assumes you never pay taxes, never eat, never pay rent, and never spend a single dime.
Right. So in reality, if you're saving, say, 10% of your income, it would take you, what, 200 years?
Roughly. You'll be dead before you hit that $1 million mark. The flaw in this equation is that your input time is finite.
You've only got 24 hours in a day.
You physically cannot work enough hours to become wealthy using this model. The ceiling is built right into the math.
So wealthy people don't use this equation.
Not at all. They realize that trading time for money is a losing game because you always run out of time.
Okay, but this is the part where I get skeptical, because we're told work smart, not hard. But that's just a buzzword. What is the actual equation they're using? If they aren't selling time, what are they selling?
They are selling value. And there was a specific formula for this. In the world of wealth, and this draws heavily from concepts by M.J. DeMarco, who Jonah references a lot, wealth is defined by a specific equation.
Okay, what is it?
Wealth equals net profit plus asset value.
Wealth equals net profit plus asset value. Okay, let's break that down. Start with net profit.
Net profit is simple. It's units sold multiplied by unit profit. This is where the magic happens. In a job, your units sold is your hours.
And you're capped at what, maybe 2,000 hours a year?
And you can't really scale that. You can't work 10,000 hours a year. But in a business, your units sold could be millions.
Right.
If you sell a product, you can sell 10,000, 100,000, a million units. The cap is completely removed. This is the concept of scale.
Scale and magnitude.
Right.
You either touch millions of people a little bit, which is scale, or you touch a few people a lot. That's magnitude.
Exactly. A good example of magnitude from the source is the cleaner versus the accountant.
Oh, right. This one always ruffles feathers.
Right.
Because the cleaner is physically working way harder.
They are burning more calories, absolutely. But the market doesn't pay for effort. It pays for perceived value and scarcity.
Okay.
The cleaner's value, unfortunately, is perceived as low because the supply of people who can do that job is very high. It's easily replaceable.
Where's the accountant?
The accountant saves a client thousands of dollars in taxes. The magnitude of the problem they solve is higher. And the barrier to entry, the degree, the certification, is higher.
So the market pays more?
But even the accountant is trapped, right? Because they still have to show up to do the taxes. They're still in the time for money trap, just at a higher hourly rate.
They're in what DeMarco calls the slow lane.
Exactly. To get to the fast lane, to the Jeff Bezos level, you need to max out that unit sold variable. You need to detach your time from your income.
And this brings us to what Jenny calls the paradox of wealth, which I found really interesting because it sounds like fortune cookie advice until you actually think about it.
Stop chasing money, chase problems.
Yeah, it sounds nice, but practically, if I have rent to pay, I'm chasing money.
Of course. But the paradox is that the market is selfish. The market doesn't care about your rent. It doesn't care that you want a Ferrari.
It only cares about what you can do for it.
Right. So if you focus on, I want to be rich, you're focusing on yourself, which the market completely ignores.
But if you focus on a problem...
If you focus on what is a problem that sucks for people, and you fix it, the money follows automatically. Money is just the byproduct of transferred value.
So I just need to find a problem.
It's simpler than people think. You just have to listen to people complain.
That's my favorite hobby anyway.
Well, now you can monetize it. Janice got just listening for specific phrases. I hate this. This is so annoying. I wish this existed. Why is this so complicated?
So when I'm struggling to fold a fitted sheet and I scream into the void, that's a business opportunity.
If you can invent a self-folding fitted sheet, you're a billionaire. Immediately.
Note to self. But seriously, looking at Amazon, that's basically what Bezos did. He didn't invent books. He just fixed the it's annoying to go to the bookstore problem.
To fix convenience, selection, and speed. He solved a billion-dollar friction point. And because he used the internet, he could scale that solution to the entire planet.
Okay, so let's talk about that scale. Because I think this is where people get tripped up. They find a problem, they start a business, but they just end up creating another job for themselves. The source uses the yoga teacher example.
This is the classic trap business. Let's say you're a great yoga instructor. You start your own studio. You charge, what, $100 an hour?
Which is great money compared to minimum wage.
It is. But look at the variables again. Your units sold are still limited to the hours in the day. If you get sick, your income stops. If you go on vacation, income stops.
You don't own a business. You own a job where you are the boss and the employee.
And probably the worst employee, because you make yourself work weekends. So how do we apply the wealth equation here? How do we scale?
You digitize it.
You film the class. You create a 30-day yoga transformation course. You upload it to the internet.
And this is the shift. Because filming it takes, say, 1 hour of work.
1 hour. But now, that 1 hour of work can be sold to one person or 10 million people. The effort to sell the millionth copy is zero. The cost of replication is zero.
That's infinite scale.
That is the holy grail. That is how you break the link between time and money. You are sleeping, and someone in Japan buys your course. You just made money without spending any of your time.
This is the producer versus consumer mindset shift the source talks about. Most of us are trained to be consumers. We see a subscription box and we think, ooh, I want that.
Instead of thinking, wait, someone just put $5 for the snacks in a cardboard box and sold it to me for $30. How is their logistics set up? How are they acquiring customers? You need to look under the hood.
Okay, so we have the net profit part of the equation, unit profit times unit sold. But there was a second part of that wealth formula you mentioned earlier,
Asset value.
asset value. This is the part almost everyone ignores, but it's actually where the massive phone number wealth comes from.
It's the exit strategy, the liquidation event. Think about it. Why did Facebook pay $1 billion for Instagram when Instagram had, what, 13 employees and zero revenue?
Yeah, that seemed insane at the time.
They weren't paying for the cash flow. They were paying for the asset value. They were buying the user base, the attention, the system.
So wealth isn't just the cash in your pocket from sales, it's the value of the machine you built.
Precisely. If you own a yoga studio, you can maybe sell it for 2 or 3 times your annual profit. That's your multiple. But if you own a scalable software platform, you might sell that for 10 times, 20 times, or 50 times your revenue.
So let's make this concrete. If I build a software company making $1 million a year in profit,
And you have high growth and good systems, a bigger company might come along and write you a check for $20 million to buy it. That is the harvest. That is how you jump from the middle class to the ultra wealthy in one afternoon.
but you can't do that if you are the business.
Correct. You cannot sell you. If the business relies on your face, your time, and your effort to run, it has very little asset value. You have to build systems.
This is the systematization phase.
You need processes. You need software. You need employees. The goal is to build a machine that works better when you aren't there.
That's a hard ego check for a lot of people. We like to think, nobody does it like me.
If nobody does it like you, you're unsellable. And you're trapped. You want to be dispensable to your own company.
So let's zoom out. We've gone from the game is rigged to, okay, there's a formula. Build a solution, scale it using code or media, systematize it so it runs without you, and then eventually sell the asset.
That's the roadmap.
But the source material pivots at the end, and I think this is important because otherwise we just sound like greedy capitalists trying to buy yachts. Jenny asks, what is it all for?
Yeah, and the answer isn't Ferraris. It's not private jets.
It's freedom.
It's autonomy. The source argues that money is actually just a tool to buy back your life.
I liked the comparison of the two struggles because the critique of this get-rich mindset is always, oh, it's too hard, it's too risky, I'd rather be safe.
But is the safe path actually safe? You're trading 5 out of 7 days of your week for 40 years. You're asking for permission to go on vacation. You're stressed about bills. That is its own struggle.
It's a slow, chronic struggle.
Versus the struggle of entrepreneurship, which is acute. It's high stress, high risk, sleepless nights. But it buys you a chance at total freedom. You choose your struggle.
That's deep. Choose your struggle.
It's the reality. And look, not everyone needs to build the next Amazon, but just understanding this equation, wealth equals net profit plus asset value, it allows you to make better choices.
Even if you have a job right now.
Yes. Jeneth throws out this challenge to employees. Ask yourself, what problems am I solving?
Because if you're just filling a seat, your value is capped.
But if you can solve expensive problems for your boss, if you can bring in sales, fix inefficiencies, create systems, you are increasing your perceived value. That's how you negotiate a raise. That's the micro version of this entire equation.
But the ultimate goal,
Yeah.
the big circle, requires ownership.
It requires owning the solution. Stop renting out your time and start owning the result.
That's the takeaway from me. Stop chasing money, start chasing solutions, and frankly, stop complaining about the game being rigged and start learning the rules.
The rules are there. They're just written in fine print.
Well, hopefully we made that print a little bigger today. For anyone who wants to really nerd out on this, the source material recommends MJ DeMarco's work, specifically The Millionaire Fastlane. It's basically the textbook for this stuff.
Highly recommend it. It's a complete paradigm shift.
All right, that's it for this deep dive. I'm going to go look for things to complain about and see if I can sell a solution.
Good luck with the fitted sheets.
I'm working on it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Catch you on the next one.